Hi, this is Keiko from Brooklyn Shoe Space. Today on Shoe Talks Quarantine Edition, we're inviting Jessie from Pergamena, New York. They are a tannery up maybe like an hour and a half away from New York, really close. Family owned, very small operation, and they are working with farms around the country, mostly on the East Coast, to bring their hides, like a byproduct from the meat industry, have it delivered to them, and they tan the leathers. Let's see. Hi, Justin. How are you? Let's see if they are back on. Oh, not yet. Okay, so we'll just keep on waiting. I got on a little early today. I think maybe like a minute early. So we'll wait for them. Where is everybody from? Evercrafting. Where are you from? Global Sew Holland. Hi, from Global, the machinery. They're great. Let's see if anybody's looking for high posts, skivers, sidewall stitchers. Global Sew Holland right there. That joined us right now. They have great machinery. The shipping and taxes, duties might be a little pricey, but it's worth it. Let's see. Oop. I might have to text and remind him. Hold on. No. Oh, I'm in New York. Evercrafting. Cool. What do you craft? It says Evercrafting. I'm sure you make a lot of things. Have you started making shoes? Do you do small leather goods? Pergamena, yes, hi. All right, I am going to have them go on. It says waiting. Oh, oops, hold on. I gotta just accept my invite. Oh, shoes and everything else. Oh, very cool. Oh, Pergamena says he declined. Wait just a sec, Jessie says. Okay. Shoes and everything else. Very cool. I'll check it out later. How has everybody been doing during this quarantine? I feel like I'm back in upstate, but I went to Brooklyn for 2 days for doctor's appointments. Yeah, there's a lot of people out, like biking, parks, just walking, and in the evening or even like midday, there's all these bars that open up. Oh, hey, I did not know. Yes, footwearists. You need machines, and you're in Holland. Perfect. You don't even need to ship it. Oh, but some machines are produced in Eastern Europe, I heard, and then some are manufactured in China. So I don't know where they would ship from, but you should definitely get in touch. Okay. Go live. Hi, Jessie.
Hello, Keiko.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good. Thanks for taking the time of your busy day.
No problem. It has been a very busy day, this being
Yeah.
part of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So have you been working this whole time during this COVID lockdown, or did you take a little break? Or
Um,
there was like at some point like a mandatory shutdown?
right. Well, I wouldn't want to say that we tried to dodge any mandatory shutdowns or anything,
Right, right.
because it is the law. But yes, there was definitely some working from home.
Yeah.
Because it's a small business, family business, certainly not really a public-facing business,
Right.
retail. We were sort of able to operate a little bit, but it was a bit like working with our hands tied behind our backs.
Right.
And I had to take a bit of a forced sabbatical because I'm the only one of the staff here who actually has 2 small children. Everyone else either has no kids or they're grown. So
Right.
so yeah, there were this week actually is the first week that I've been able to work all 5 days this week, and that's the first time in months that I've done that.
Months.
And that's
And
only
you're a
because
part.
of the help of my
You're
grandparents.
right, and you're a part-time teacher now, and homeschool, like,
Yep.
right.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Daycare camp provider.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, we
Entertainer.
we did that with several families, or I should say several, 2 other families who lived on our block, who our kids and their kids played together. So we basically ended up trading off, and one parent would take all 6 or 7 kids 1 day a week and then go do something with them. So I did that once or twice.
Good.
I gave them a tour of the tannery.
Yeah.
I brought them to a farm with me and returned some leather for one of our tan and return projects and got to show them the whole cycle of production. So I tried to make it a bit
Very
educational.
cool. Very cool. Well, let's dive right in. I know not everybody knows who you are, so do you think you can introduce yourself? Tell us what you do,
Okay.
and maybe if I see that you're at the tannery.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Are you at the tannery today? Yeah, maybe we'll do a tour after.
Sure. Right, for those who do not know me, I am Jessie Meyer. I run Pergamena, Parchments and Leathers. We're a small tannery based in the Hudson Valley, New York area. It's a family business, and our family has been tanners since I think 1550. So we've been tanning leather for a long time. We're working with hides in some fashion or another for a long time. We've been based here in the Hudson Valley since about 1980. And our father moved it up here from New Jersey, and it had been there for 150 years prior to that. Before that, it was in Philly for 20 years, and then before that, it was in Germany. So,
okay, wow,
so yeah,
wow, wow.
Long history.
And slowly moving up the coast.
Right, right. Yes, following the nicer weather, perhaps. Although right now it's pouring rain because apparently there's a tropical storm moving in. So
tropical. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. But right, so we're a small tannery. We do mainly vegetable tanning, as well as parchment. That's our other main product that we produce. We do some cow, we do some goat, a little bit of everything. We've done, sheep. We used to do an awful lot of deer skin and cow splits. Now we do full grain cow sides. We do goats, some sheep, and still some deer.
Wow.
And several other small items, here and there. So.
Very cool. And I would love to hear, I think that's like the strength that you have, that you can do smaller quantities. But
yes.
Can you also touch a little bit on the farm to hide program?
Right. So yes, we've gotten a few different names. I guess.
I'm losing you for a second.
Sorry.
Hold on.
We refer to it sometimes as tan and return.
Tan and return.
Sometimes farm to fashion. Sometimes land to tanned. So a few different mouthfuls. But the idea is, and this is something that has developed over a few years, which is we have. We used to tan, like I said, mainly deer skin and cow splits, and those were the deer was for the insides of pianos, and the cow was for the soles of bowling shoes. Those were our two primary niche products for a very long time. But during that process, or during that time, in order to get the deer skin specifically, we would have to source them from local hunters. So we, every fall, we would put out the call to hunters and taxidermists and hide buyers that we needed material, and so people would bring us their hides. Sometimes they would just leave them on the doorstep Other times, they would come in and just give them to us. Other times they'd want to be paid, so a variety. But in the process of doing that, we would sometimes have people that wanted their leather tanned and then sent or given back to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the type of tanning that we do is it's primarily vegetable tanning, as opposed to hair-on. So people would come and ask us for rugs, and that's not really something we can do because that's chrome tanned leather. That's a different process that we don't want to mess with. So, yeah, it would be like a buckskin type of leather, perhaps. So we have been doing that for several years, and then after a certain point, we started having people approach us about doing larger hides or different hides. And then a few years ago, we had a group of restaurants down in Brooklyn, actually, Marlowe, and they
Marlowe
approached
and
us,
Sons.
Marlowe and Son, and Daughters, and Wife, and Romans, and Diner, and so on. But they approached us about tanning some hides for them because they were actually getting their meat raised here in the Hudson Valley at a farm, and they wanted to see if we could tan those hides for them, and then they would in turn use them on products and sell in their stores. So that was sort of our first foray into doing this on a larger scale. And since then, I guess that that definitely put us on the map a bit, and several other companies and people and designers have gotten in touch with us about doing similar things. So we started to do more of that, and we have also, realized that, in this era of, I feel like we might be sort of tapping into something a bit in that people want to know where their material comes from.
Yeah.
So if
almost like with the same farm to table movement. It's an extension of that. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So farm to table, the same way people want to know where their textiles come from, where their milk comes from. 1 second.
You cut out for a second.
Hey, Stephen?
No, it's okay.
Sorry, 1 second. I think the DEC is here with that that delivery. Do you think you could go see if they're downstairs? Sure. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was expecting a delivery, and they showed up, of course, right now. But so yeah, we are interested in trying to offer traceable material. That seems to be of interest to a lot of people.
Makers, yes.
Right. So.
Yeah, that is so great. How did you get into it? Did you already know growing up that you wanted to get into this business, following your uncle or father or?
Right. It was our dad who did it. But no, honestly, I mean, it's in a small town in Hudson Valley, New York. When I would work here in summers between school and summers between college, but it's not the most social of environments, and it's hard work. And for a time I thought I would rather become an artist and move down to New York City or something. But I went to school for sculpture. I got a BFA in sculpture from SUNY New Paltz, and so while I was working with working there on my BFA, I was looking for interesting materials to use. So I naturally sort of came back to all of the
leather,
the leather and animal hides more generally that I was surrounded with, and decided maybe I could adapt some of those. Yeah. And that's when I discovered Parchment, which is an animal skin that's been stretched and dried, and didn't really know too much about it or what it was, but was informed by people that yes, this is a material that's hard to get, and there is a call for it. And there aren't too many other people that are producing this right now, so it might be worth your while to sort of, follow up on this. So which we did, and in doing so, we ended up working with people that do high-end manuscript and book restoration and conservation.
Right.
Then,
in my brain, like Parchment, I think Bible, but I don't know any else much. So. Well, what else is it used for? So you said books and...
Right, so books, manuscripts, like the...
Manuscripts.
the Lindbergh brothers book of
Mm-hmm.
Hours, the Book of Kells, the Dead Sea
Mm-hmm.
Scrolls, the
Mm.
Declaration of Independence, the Magna Carta.
Wow, wow,
All of
yeah,
those things are some of the more famous examples. But that's a very long-standing use of the material. But more
yeah.
recently, in say the last 100 years, it has been adapted and used as a material. Sorry.
Oh, you
Yeah,
just cut
somebody
out.
tried.
Sorry, you just cut out. Right. It's modern.
Some,
Yeah, modern use is. Sorry.
right. Someone tried calling again.
Oh,
The modern uses for furniture and for
furniture.
surfaces for
Mm-hmm.
interiors. So
Mm-hmm.
if anyone's ever heard of Jean-Michel Frank, he's a good example of a designer, French designer from the 1920s, 30s, and 40s mainly, who worked with it. Um, and yeah,
Becca
so it,
says
sorry?
legal documents. Becca Wilson says legal documents and botanical arts
That is also true.
as
That's very
well.
true.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yes. So, right. I mean, England and a lot of Europe would use it for legal documents, for um,
Wow.
documents for indentured servitude, or for deeds, or for marriage, contracts, and
Wow.
so on. So, not to mention, I think it's still the case that one copy of every law that's passed in the UK has to be printed on
On.
parchment for
Wow.
posterity's sake. So,
Wow.
yeah. So, yeah, long-standing uses, but the more recent ones that we have stumbled across have been for furniture and for interiors. So,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of through working with people in the interiors and furniture industry, we also ended up coming across people interested in using leather, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where we sort of adapted
Mm-hmm.
our leather process to try to make the vegetable tan leather, which seems like
Cool.
it's been well received for some furniture, for shoes, for leather goods, handbags, and so on.
Very cool. When you were working with parchment material in school, did you make a sculpture out of it? Do you still have the artwork that you made?
That was I graduated in 1995, so
It's
not
been a while.
not likely. I also had a bad habit of working on like sort of a monumental scale or doing installations and so on, and that doesn't really work if you're trying to be an artist down in New York City where you have very small spaces. So not very practical. Yeah. So while I was trying to figure that out, life was happening, and I was working here at the tannery, sort of working out the kinks and trying to improve on the production
So,
of parchment and the leather.
so
And
you got really sucked into the business really quickly,
yeah,
in a way.
right. And it was entirely my own doing. I mean, my father,
Mm-hmm.
to his credit, was like, get out of here while you can. There's no future in this business. But sort of by, looking at it through a creative lens, I think we were able to, to find new uses and adapt the
Yeah.
material for new industries. So,
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So it's like a really fresh eye that you brought to the business.
yeah.
Yeah. Would you call your father mentor in that
Uh,
sense for your business?
yes, he has a lot of the institutional memory of the business. He was a chemist and the tanner and chief tinkerer and repair person here, so he would be able to offer advice on just about anything.
Oh, that's great.
And right, if I had questions about process, he would help advise. I also
Mm-hmm.
did my best to do some reading and studying.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, a lot of it's just trial and error.
Mm-hmm. And who are your partners? Do you have other family members that joined your company?
My brother, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I have four younger brothers, and we have all worked here at some point or another during our youth. Currently, it's myself and my brother Stephen, who is the fourth brother out of five.
Mm-hmm.
So he and I currently work together, and yeah, he handles an awful lot of customer contact. He's good at the systems. He also
Mm-hmm.
does an awful lot of um, contact with some of our other like finishers and so on. So
Mm-mm-mm. Very cool. It's so nice to work with family, yeah?
it can
Yes,
be.
and it can be, yes.
It can be.
Can you give us a tour of your tannery to kind of show us the process?
I can do that. Let me see first of all if I can get the screen to turn around.
Yeah,
Um,
if you tap it, yeah,
there we
yeah,
go.
great,
All right, so I'll start downstairs at the beginning.
great.
And it's a small facility.
This is
It's
so
crowded.
exciting.
It's dirty. And especially during hot, humid months in the summer, everything is just damp and never completely dries out. So
Mm.
it's just
Civil
very
Leather
wonderful.
asked a really good question. What distinguishes your leather from other American veg tanneries? You can
Um,
answer there's not that many tanneries left.
True. Not many, um, right, not many tanneries left, but what makes us different than other veg tanners is that it's mainly for, I mean, most of the other veg tanneries that I'm aware of, they do, at least in this country, they do mainly cow. So they're working with much larger animals, whereas we're doing smaller. We do calf and goat and sheep and some deer along with the cow. So yeah, we are doing maybe what's referred to as light leathers as opposed to heavy leathers. And there are a few other companies, tanneries out there that specialize in that. So yeah, it's a small field, and we're a small player, but we're trying to sort of carve out a niche for ourselves without getting in anyone else's way. So I'm trying to take advantage of what market there might be for this material here in the States, whereas before that they would have to go all the way to to Europe or just elsewhere. So there are
Wow.
not too many domestic sources for this sort of material. So.
Right. Oh, even as the raw material, like say hides that come to you, you mean? Like so some tanneries import the leather, you mean?
No,
Or oh, you meant
domestic as in, just leather is not something that's really made here in the States
right,
anymore.
right, right.
As a handful of tanneries, lots of raw material, as in lots of cows and other
Yeah.
animals, but the leather itself, I mean, just for example, the United States is a pretty big country and it has a lot of cows here.
Yeah.
A lot of those cows are probably, I mean, it depends on world trade at any particular moment, but for most often it's the animals are they go to the slaughterhouse, they are slaughtered, the beef is harvested and used for meat here in the States,
Yeah.
and the hides are packed up and put in containers and sent overseas to China or some
Mm,
other destination. So
mm.
so we have a lot of the raw material here, but a lot of the manufacturing is done elsewhere where they don't have the environmental restrictions or regulations to worry about, and they have much cheaper
Labor.
labor. Exactly.
Mm,
So
mm. Yeah, I've even heard that the meat they might even get slaughtered overseas too. Is that weird? I don't know.
uh,
I might not be saying the truth, so I'll skip that. Sorry, I don't know if
no,
it's true, but I
that's
heard.
okay. I don't know either. I mean, it's possible, although transportation can be expensive. So if the meat's going to stay here, it might make more sense to just harvest the animals here and then not
Right,
have to transport live animals overseas. But you never
right.
know. So
Yeah, you never know. All right, thank you for answering the
sure,
question. I hope that
no problem.
answered the question, Civil Leather.
Right, I hope so.
Um,
And no, we do not retan chrome leather. So as per
wait, you
federal rules
don't
in the question, I
retan
just
chrome
won't.
leather, right?
No, right.
Oh, I see. So
Um,
what does that mean? So retan chrome leather. Some people bring the leather to you, say, I want to change a color. Is that what you mean by retanning chrome leather?
Well, what is most of the leather in the world that's produced now is chrome tan leather. So it's made using a chrome compound.
Yeah.
And that leather has has lots of strengths. The tanning process is very quick. It makes for a very soft, pliable leather. It's very strong. It has it can withstand high temperatures. So it has a lot of pluses.
But
And right, but it doesn't with vegetable tan leather. It can be stiffer. It definitely has the ability to take on and polish and get more character and burnish over time. And it's a more traditional process, and it requires less harmful chemicals. It doesn't use chrome at all and no heavy metals. So, which has, tannery is a pretty
Its
bad
benefits,
rap.
definitely.
Yeah. So, right. So we don't, and the chrome tan can often be sort of like a blank canvas for other tanning processes or other dyeing or finishing that can be done.
Sometimes you cut out.
From there, you can dye it and finish it as, the leather would be tanned as chrome tan, and from there it could be just finished and dyed, or it could be retanned, which means that you then add vegetable extracts to it, so you get sort of a combination of both. So you'll get, say the best of both. That's, right. So that's what the retanning would be. So.
Oh, I see. Got it. But you don't do that. So you're purely work. Yeah, I see.
Right.
Do you think you can give us the tour? I'm
Yes.
excited. I haven't seen the place for about 5-6 years.
Right. So it may or may not have changed when you were here last, but one thing that we did do is we got this very, very large, brand new or new to us fleshing machine here. So that allows us to be able to handle much larger hides. It's a much heavier duty machine. Our old one, our previous machine was, gosh, I don't know, from sometime in the 1940s or 50s. Oftentimes machines are rebuilt and reused, but it was time to get a new one. So we got this. It was quite an investment, but it's been a very helpful machine to have. So the hides will come in.
It's called,
Sorry? It's called fleshing machine.
Fleshing. Okay, fleshing. So you literally take off flesh?
It literally takes off the flesh.
Whoa.
This big blade here spins at high speed, and that yellow rubber roll, basically you lay the hide over top of it, you engage with a foot pedal, it puts the skin against the blade, and it will sort of, peel the flesh off the inside of the hide.
Wow. So, wow. Okay.
So don't put your hand in it.
Okay.
So
no, definitely not.
Right. So the hides come in, and that's one of the first things that's done to them. But when we get hides, they sometimes show up as this. We have some hides from traceable sources. We've got some sheepskin on hand right now, waiting to be processed. We also have a bunch of goat and calf that we're looking to process hopefully next week.
Okay, it comes on pallets?
It comes on pallets most of the time, yes. So the material arrives, we put them in these very large, or large to us anyway, drums, tanning drums.
Oops, I think we're losing it. I'm losing you for a second. Hold on.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. Oh, you're back.
Are you still there?
Ooh, that's a drum. Yeah.
Okay.
We can see you. That's a huge drum.
Okay. I think maybe I'm too far. Yeah. All right. That's probably too far from
the Wi-Fi
upstairs. Yes. So these very large things, tanning drums.
Wow.
It's like a big washing machine. It turns. You put the skins in, and it mixes with chemicals and water to do whichever processes you're looking to do. So the skins have to go in. They have to get washed. They get sometimes degreased. They will sometimes get dehaired, or actually that's almost always part of the process is they are dehaired. And once that happens, then the skins have to come out, or they have to get what's called pickled, and that's where they they're preserved in a salt and acid, and they will come out looking like this. It's almost looks like a wet dish rag.
Yes. So for chrome, I've seen somewhere in the chrome tanning process, is that when the skins are blue, like wet blue, they call it?
Yes, that's correct.
So that's kind of like the raw base, like step, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So the chrome tanning is referred to as wet blue, and then from there you can either
Add,
retan.
apply.
Right. You could put
Yeah.
finishes on it. You could dye them.
Yeah.
You could
So
retan it with
yeah.
vegetable.
And for you guys, you just really like wash it and kind of
Well,
prepare it and pickle. You call it pickling?
pickling, yes. So
Pickling.
once the hides are pickled, that means they're cleaned of hair and fat and flesh, and then the skins are washed, and then preserved in salt and acid, which will bring the pH of the hides down to maybe 2 to 4, somewhere in that range.
Wow.
And at that point, they're ready for tanning. And for vegetable tanning, the chemical process works best if you're starting at a lower pH. So, because the vegetable tannin fixes best when it's sort of at a lower pH. Chrome tanning is different. It's more around the range of like 5 or 6. Right, in our case, it's good to have them pickled because that's a good spot to start the tanning process.
Okay. And is it kind of like you said it's a wet rag? Is it always kind of wet and moist, or is it dry? Does it dry out ever?
Sometimes they dry out, but it's best to do it once they're damp.
Okay.
But we use different products here. We have chestnut, we have mimosa,
wow.
we have sumac, as far as the tanning compounds go that we use.
Wow.
All tree extracts, and they all will give slightly different
aroma,
characteristics and aroma to the leather once it's done. Right. So the hides come in, looking like that, and once they're pickled, then they are tanned in the drums, and they hopefully will come out looking like this.
Wow.
This is a cow that we tanned, although this has been dyed. We've got some that has not. But I can show you some other examples upstairs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So once I'm also forgetting there's also a step called fat lickering, which I'm not sure if you've heard of speaking with other tanners.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard that. Fat lickering?
Okay. Fat lickering. It sounds gross or lewd or something, but it's actually you're just taking greases and oils and then sort of reintroducing them into the leather, because during the tanning process, the oils and greases in the skin can inhibit penetration. So the idea is that you want to get those out of the way while tanning, but then you want to be able to put them back in to make the skin soft once it's tanned. So once the fat lickering process is done, the hides come up and they go in. They have to be dried.
Yeah.
So we put them in this room here. This is our drying room.
Wow. This is something that I think I've seen in your Instagram.
Okay.
It really looks like the hides are like kind of stretched, right?
Yes, that's right. Right. Nothing on the frames right now to sort of indicate, but I can show you some examples of the hides once they come off.
Wow.
So this here is a goat skin. These marks along the side are where where it's basically been stretched on the frame. So
right.
We take the hide down, and then we do what's called staking, and that is the process. Staking, staking, and that process refers to using this machine here, and this softens the hides,
it's like it's like a punching and rubbing machine.
Yes.
Is that sort of like what it is? Like.
Yep. Yeah.
It doesn't burnish, right?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't burnish the hides. It just sort of softens.
To soften it up.
Right. once,
I think we watched somebody use this and we were so scared that it
yeah, it's
Whoa.
it can be a little nightmarish looking. This particular machine here is also a very, very old version of this machine. Newer versions are maybe a bit safer to use, but this one still does the job very well, which is you're just trying to soften and stretch the skin. So.
Very cool.
Right. So, and we've got so once the hides come down from the drying room, they end up coming out here and getting sorted. These are all skins that are basically just waiting to be dyed. Most of these have already been split, which means that the leather has been made to a particular thickness. So they should all be. I'm guessing these are probably all about 3 ounces.
What makes like each hides grading system? Like, do you check it at that stage for, is it thickness? Is it the size?
Well, several different things.
Scars.
I mean, first of all, if it's a tan and return hide, excuse me, then the customer is going to get back whatever they provide us, whatever condition it's in. The better shape the hide is when we receive it, the better the finished material will be. You can finish the hide, you can emboss it and do all sorts of, you could pigment it, lots of different things to dress it up, but the hide itself will, that is pretty dependent on the quality of the hide when it gets here. So, but as far as grading it goes, right, you want to find something that doesn't have a lot of holes in it. And you'll almost always find some holes in the leather. Small ones. Hopefully they'll be close to the edge of the skin, but that's where somebody didn't do a very good job of skinning the animal and cut it with a knife. So that's something to watch for. You also want to watch for scars. You want to watch for the grain having degraded because of bacterial damage, for instance.
Wow.
So there's a lot of things that need to be kept in mind. But as far as how we grade it, I mean, the size, thickness, the bigger it is, the more options you have. Up to a point, because if it's anything larger than a cow's side, for instance, we can't really handle it. It's too large for our machines or for us to handle. But the larger the hide is, the better. The cleaner it looks, the better. No holes, no scars, no cuts, no grain damage. And if it's a nice thick skin, that gives us a lot more options. Right. So you can split it down to particular thickness. So. Right.
So, for example, I was just kind of wondering how, for example, if, say, wholesaler would purchase, I guess you just subtract those areas when you calculate the square footage. Is that kind of how it goes? Or, how like alligator skins, there were different grades depending on the number of scars and the size. So I guess when we go shopping, we just look at the hides and see like, I can work with this. Or I really want everything to be smooth. So I guess you don't really talk about grading, but sorry, is there something?
No. Right, we don't. I mean, alligator is different. I don't have too much experience with alligator, but I will say that we have worked with ostrich hide in some cases, and that they might grade the same way in that they go by quarters. It depends on how if it's 100% or 75 or 50 or whatever, how many of the quarters of the hide are intact. That's that has a big effect. That has a big effect on the price that they can command for it. So not so much of an issue here, although we're some tanneries. I mean, tanneries do things differently. Some they will go to somebody who does the raw material beaming, they call it, which is the processing up to maybe pickling or the wet blue, and then they'll purchase that material from somebody, and then they'll do the retanning and dyeing themselves. And if that's the case, then whoever receives all that raw material, they can basically do all the grading and all the hard work for them.
I see.
With
I
us,
see.
because we handle it all the way from the raw,
Yeah.
you know, we don't necessarily know what kind of condition the hides are
Right.
going to be in before they arrive here.
I see.
We
I
just
thought that everybody works in that way. I thought that everybody does everything from scratch, but I didn't know that there's actually like an industry like that where they do
yes,
partially.
yes,
I see.
very much so. Right, and it seems to be. I don't know for sure, but I think it's pretty common to do it that way, which is to have somebody do the raw material processing, and then they do the grading. And then if it's really, you know, D-grade material or a lot of holes, they'll, you know, send that to someone else to get refinished and, you know, turned into, you know,
something smaller
cheap, crappy embossed, you know, desk blotters. If it's nicer material, then they can command more for that, and they'll send that to somebody to make some really nice Hermes bags or something. So
right. Oh, that's so interesting. And after, so sorry, I kind of cut you off, but so you had all the leathers that were stacked that were like ready to be colored or processed surface-wise. After that, is there like more, or is
well, after the you know, after we grade the hides, and you know, we are of course outside of pandemic times, we would be processing these regularly. You know, we'll be bringing in raw material, and then we just sort it as we go into various sizes, qualities, and thicknesses, and also animals, because some we will do, you know, we'll do some cow sides such as this, whereas sometimes we'll do calf. But you know, we have at least a small stock of most of those here at any one time. So yeah, at this point, you know, we have the material. It has been, you know, it's been tanned. It has been fat liquored. It has been trimmed. It has been split, you know, so that it's a nice,
clean,
nice even
smooth,
thickness, clean, clean, smooth. And then at that point, we will dye the leather, and that's where we end up with, you know, material like I showed you here. You know, these are 2 batches that we did recently. These are some vegetable tan, gray goats.
Beautiful.
Small batch. You know, we also, here's some slate blue, a batch of slate blue that we did recently. Yeah. And this is the kind of material that we might provide to people using for shoes. But oftentimes we'll do some what's called tipping, where we will mill the leather, which means to sort of tumble it for a while, and then that gives it a lot of grain character, and then we will we'll you know, wipe it with a stain to give it the sort of two-tone grain appearance. So
does it also make it softer too when it's tumbled?
Yes, very much so. So, and
is this kind of like
this is
wow,
right, this is the you know, the sort of
retail
customer-ready material, the retail section of the the shop.
Yes. So. Wow. So are they kind of, they're not leftovers, they're just, you just tan a couple extra hides just in case when and those are like ones that the customer didn't take, for example.
Or just, you know, good to have a few extras for sampling purposes, or people, you know, because we're sort of a hybrid operation here, which is, you know, we do larger contract work, we do some retail, and then some wholesale. So people will buy large amounts of what we have, you know, several thousand feet at a time, and then other times they want us to do a custom batch of something for them, so we'll do that. And then other times still, you know, they'll, you know, a bookbinder or a person looking to do shoes or handbags will come in, and they'll just want to buy a few pieces here or there. So, and we have those available on our website, but people can also, if they are adventurous enough, can come up and buy it from us.
Very cool. So. Yeah. Always nice to, you know, touch and feel.
Right. I know that means a lot, especially with something as tactile as leather. So.
Yeah. I hear you also take like wild caught animals from, say, like a hunter who wants to have it tanned. If it's like
Uh,
one piece, what do you do?
well,
Do you add it to some ooh, is that a
yeah,
roadkill
probably more than you
or
wanted to see, but we actually just got a delivery here from the DEC for a project that I was doing with a
okay.
government institution where they're actually looking for a traceable animal, traceable to the source.
Oh,
So
wow.
I put out a call with our local DEC, and they actually just called this morning and said, "Oh, we found one. Would you like it?" And they happen to
Oh,
show up while you're here.
wow.
So not to be too
Wow.
morbid.
No, it's okay. No, it's
No.
okay. I want to see. So what in that case, what do you have to
Yes.
de
Yes, I do.
take the hides off? Wow.
Yes, I do. Right. And
Do you
I
need to talk to them or are you okay?
no, thankfully my brother's here and he's able to to deal with them. So, but
So in this case, do you add it to some other projects and do like the base process together,
yes,
and then
yeah,
at the end you do the process of coloring separate?
that's correct. Or it depends on what the customer's looking for. In this case, they wanted to do some tests on the qualities of leather as how it might have been produced traditionally versus how it might be produced using modern methods. So
Are you gonna
using
brain tan?
no, I'm not going to brain
No.
tan.
Okay.
No, but I am going to pit tan basically.
Pit tan. Okay,
Pit tan.
so pit tan is when it's under the ground?
Yes, right. Or it's in a large vat, and the idea is
Mm-hmm.
that the hide stays in the vat, and then the hide moves from vat to vat depending on the concentration of the tannins.
Mm-hmm.
And there's maybe some slight movement that goes on in there to help distribute the tannins, but otherwise the hide stays in place. Whereas with all the
Wow.
drums that we have, the hide
You
stays in one
move the
place,
hides.
and
Uh-huh.
the liquid or the solution gets cycled in and out. So
Right.
it takes up less space to do it that way, but it's more water intensive. So
Right. Right.
right, so that's most of what we do is drum tanning. But if it's pit tanning, it takes. Thank you, sir. But right, if it's pit tanning, then the hide stays where it is, and you just have to wait a very long time for the skin
Yeah.
to completely tan through. So that's what I'm
Right.
going to attempt with this. I'm basically just going to throw this and a few other hides as this test, this trial for these guys in a drum or in a 55-gallon drum, and then just add the tannins occasionally to to strengthen the material or strengthen the liquid, and then hopefully check it every now and then to see if the tannin has fully penetrated all the way through the hide.
Oh,
So
wow.
you have to do
Wow.
like a cross cut. You have to check the pH. You have to do a cross cut in order to check the penetration. So those are some of the steps that you need to
Yeah.
do. So
I wonder, does it take longer? Yeah, I
yeah, to do
assume
the pit tanning,
so.
yes, because
Yeah.
otherwise the mechanical action of the skin sort of getting dropped and moved around in a drum,
Yeah. Yeah.
that sort of pounding action, that
Yeah.
helps to drive the tannins in. But
Yeah.
if you're not doing it that way, then it's basically just a lot of time.
Wow. Wow.
So
That's so cool that you're doing that and you're working with them. And I wonder what they're gonna do with that
they're
leather.
gonna run it through a battery of tests, like abrasion resistance, tear tests, light fastness, and so on,
Uh-huh.
in order to
Uh-huh.
test and make sure that to just compare the strength of modern leathers to to how it might have been done 200 years ago or so.
Wow. That is so cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
it keeps my work interesting.
Yes.
I get to
So
play
each
mad
project.
scientist.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
part of the process do you like the best?
Well, seeing as I didn't go to school for chemistry, a lot of this stuff I have to figure out as I go. I can sort of consult people, consult chemists and others, but a lot of it is trial and error. I can do some reading, I can do some consulting, but what I enjoy the most is doing the research and then making progress on something, improving a product.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
with the leather, there's a lot of folks out there who can do that, but the parchment not so much. So when I first started making parchment, I didn't even know how people made it, and it was just me making a lot of mistakes and then showing people and then making suggestions saying, well, this is, you know, if you try this, that might make it more useful to us, or, you know, showing me other examples and saying this is what we're aiming for. So yeah, in terms of the parchment, I'm pretty much self-taught because the process of parchment making hasn't really been practiced commercially, you know, for hundreds of years. So,
that's really a niche. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you export? Do you export also your parchment?
We do. Yeah, we do, because there are so few people that or companies that make it. And you know, that's not to say that it hasn't been produced, you know, throughout this whole period, but just, you know, in very small amounts, sort of below the radar. And the people that do make it aren't really interested in sharing their information. It's one of those things where it's one of those sort of secret things that you pass from, you know, from master to apprentice. Whereas, you know, with me, I kind of had to figure it out myself. I'm self-taught. So I've learned a lot, but there's still a lot more to learn.
Yeah. Would you pass it on to somebody? Do you have family members or younger generation that is joining the company?
I do have, I have a 10-year-old son. So I told him that before he comes to work here, not that he would ever want to on his own volition, but should he ever choose to work here, he has to go get an MBA first. And then he can come try it out. So if he wants to do that, or if my you know, him or my daughter for that matter, if they want to, you know, to do that, they're more than welcome to. I don't want to put any pressure on anyone to do that, but you know, there's Stephen, my brother, he's here also, and you know, I've got other nieces and nephews. Maybe they would be interested as well. So
yeah. Because your knowledge that you figured out yourself, I hope it's written somewhere so you can pass it on and keep it going.
Anything that I've ever read about parchment is so old that a lot of those recipes are written in Latin. So yeah, I mean, they're from medieval manuscripts about how to make parchment. So you know, there is very, very little. People ask all the time, like, where can I find out how to make this material or do something like this? And there's not a whole lot of literature out there about it. So
Becca has suggested they have a parchment room. Maybe he'll show it. Do you have a parchment room?
Has Becca been here before?
Yeah, has Becca been here?
That's entirely possible.
That's Becca. Hi, Becca.
Yes, so our parchment room is in our office, and I'll point out this is Carl. This is my father.
Hi.
Say hello to everyone at the Brooklyn Shoe Space.
Hello, Shoe Space.
Hello.
And
rubber sandals.
here is one of our old books.
Wow.
Talking about let's see, cow belly fronts at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Added 2% Orapon, which is a bait. For a half hour. Let stand. Add 4
So it's
ounces.
like a lab note. Yeah.
Yes, this is basically like these are
the
lab notes
note. Yeah.
of right. This is our old formulas, and that was written by my grandfather. So
wow.
Right, we have this this famous picture that maybe some people have seen, but this is my grandfather working with his brother, my great uncle Richard, and that was them at their old tannery down in North Bergen, New Jersey, back in the 1940s or so. So we have 1, 2, and then myself would be three generations here.
Yeah.
One
Wow.
form or another. But so Carl comes in. I still consult with him. He's still has lots of institutional knowledge, so I still consult with him.
Okay.
But this is our parchment.
Nice. Wow. It's really It's really like almost clear.
Yes.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Many ways to manipulate it to produce different end results.
Yeah. So, has the research and development been taking a lot of time? Is that kind of your department? So say somebody wants to work with you for a particular project. Oh, wow. That's also Parchment?
Yes, this is a
Wow.
turquoise blue, dyed, obviously, goat skin.
Wow.
We've got a range
Very
of
cool.
dyed parchments, many different colors.
Mm-hmm.
So
That is so cool.
yeah, but
I remember shoemakers that you worked with shoemakers to kind of cater towards what they needed. So is that
yes,
the R&D, and that is something that is like a surface treatment, or did you have to change any of the tanning process at all, or?
the tanning. I mean, with the vegetable tanning, the basic process is the same, but there are a lot of adjustments that you can make to, to add different characteristics. Different tannins,
Interesting.
tanning it at a different pH, tanning it for shorter or longer duration.
Longer.
The amount of fat liquor or greases and oils that you add to a skin can also change the softness of the leather, whether it's milled or not, whether it has been staked, whether, the different, the different types of animal,
Yeah.
some are
It is so
thicker,
cool that
than others. So.
it's really cool that you can really manipulate every stage of the process, really. And
although the more of those manipulations that you are trying to do, the more juggling it
Right.
requires. So we want to try and limit that, just for expense reasons.
Right. I understand. If you had we're kind of running out of time, so I'm just gonna move on. If you had unlimited resources and time in the world, what item would you have made in your leathers? Do you have anything that's made for you that's from the leathers, the hide?
I have my wallet, which is made of a calf skin that we tanned, and my wife very kindly had it made into a wallet for me as a surprise birthday gift. So
nice.
I keep that, and it burn as does all or most vegetable tan. It burnished to a very nice color.
Beautiful, yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. But as far as items made out of it, we've had people request, hey, could you make a pair of work boots out of it? It's like, well, we could make the leather, and then somebody else could do the the bespoke shoemaking. But that's
right.
It's expensive.
Yes. Has anybody made shoes for you? Has
no.
anybody made shoes for you? No. Okay.
No.
What shoe size are you?
I'm a size 12. Actually, between a 12 and a 13. And most of the time, I'm either wearing sandals or big, huge rubber muck boots, because those are the only things that can stand up to the wet, sloppy atmosphere and floor. So I would hate to walk in here with really nice shoes.
No. Right. I can make you a super simple but shoes, so closed-toe shoes. Where do you see yourself at the company in 3 to 5 years? Yourself and the company, yeah. Right.
Well, I feel like we're sort of at a crossroads here. The pandemic, trying to find the silver lining on the pandemic. It's like, the whole working on the business as opposed to working in the business. Yeah. And we've been trying to figure out, which direction we should be concentrating more on. And one of the things that we've talked a lot about is trying to do more of the tan and return traceable leather. If we're in that world already and there seems to be an increased interest in it, then we hope to be able to, capitalize on that a bit more, become more of a sort of a go-to resource for people looking to make that material. So that's something we'd like to do more of. And the hope also is to continue with the Parchment, since that ends up in very nice sort of luxury goods and materials. Trying to increase our market share there. So
definitely.
Also,
thank you for showing us. Yeah,
it's a bit of an old building too, so it would be nice to move to a larger facility, but we'll see. Maybe that's a 5-year goal.
That sounds great. I think you can do it. There's like 10 seconds left, so I feel like I should let you go.
Okay.
I didn't get to ask all the questions, maybe, but I think it's fantastic what you're doing. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
what you do. We'll
My
keep
pleasure.
on following your work.
I very
Yeah.
much